Reince Priebus is President Trump's chief of staff. He joins us from the North Lawn of the White House. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, Brett.
First, what Mike just wrapped up talking about, the status of health care today. The Freedom Caucus saying they are signing on to this latest version. Where do you think it is tonight?
Well, I think it's in a pretty good place. Obviously, there's more people that need to be looking at the amendment, and they're reading very carefully the text of the amendment and the effect of the amendment on the overall bill. But I can tell you the administration is feeling fairly positive tonight about where things are at on the health care repeal and replace bill of Obamacare. We're hopeful that there may be a vote soon. We don't want to put an artificial deadline on this, though, Brett. We learned that a few weeks ago. So we just want to keep getting this thing in a better place, and we think it's possible we get a vote soon or next week. But whatever they decide and however we can get this done, we'll be excited about it. But we're very hopeful tonight. Yeah,
you look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls on Obamacare, and there's a chart that kind of shows how the numbers have changed since the inauguration. They kind of go two different directions. A lot more people signing on to Obamacare, saying that it is a good thing. Meantime, Democrats, I think we can put up that chart. Democrats on the floor today, including Senator Chuck Schumer, saying that you all are not reaching out to them. Take a listen.
Yeah,
okay.
I couldn't hear the audio, but look.
Neither could we. So let's
that's okay.
Let's just ask you I'll just tell you, Chuck Schumer said that you essentially haven't reached out to Democrats, and they can they're not going to sign on to anything.
I think I could have safely assumed
anything until the repeal part of this is all out of the system.
Yeah, I could have safely assumed it probably wasn't positive, right?
Yeah, right.
But look, we're happy to get their support. I mean, they're going to have an opportunity to vote on this bill as well, and they have an opportunity to govern through all these committees and through the process as well. This process was run through regular order from the beginning, and that regular order means that everyone has a say in the process. So if they want to come on board and give us ideas of how to make the bill better, certainly we'll listen to them. But the truth of the matter is Obamacare is failing everywhere. In many states, there's only one choice of an insurance carrier. In counties across the country, it's failing. I do think some of the third-party groups have done a good job with artificially propping up the bill and creating noise at hearings, and that's what politics is all about. But the truth is, Obamacare has been a disaster for many years, and we've all pledged to do something about it, and that's what we're doing hopefully tonight, tomorrow, and the next day.
All right, tax reform, the rollout today. First of all, was this rollout done because you learned something from health care that you need to be on the front end of this?
No, not necessarily. I think that, you know, in regard to health care, it's something that the Republicans have been talking about for 6 years, and Tom Price is one of the architects who happened to be our Secretary of HHS, and so obviously we had a plan that we'd been working on for a long time. In regard to tax reform, we just feel like it's something that the White House should drive, and we have driven the process. We've been meeting, though, Brett, and for all your listeners, we've been talking about this since before November, but right after November we were meeting in the halls of Congress with our team. If you may recall, in November and December we had many meetings with Paul Ryan and Kevin Brady at Ways and Means about this process, and it just came to a head today where we wanted to outline the basic structure of what our tax reform would look like. But the next step, though, is to take the basic structure and bring it to the American people and the halls of Congress to make it better and to fill in the details and make sure that when we do roll out the actual bill in text, it's something that is well thought out and something that the American people will universally, or at least as much as you can get to universal praise, will be happy about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this doesn't have all the details, as you mentioned. It's kind of bullet points and goals. But looking even at this, how do you avoid busting the budget? How do you avoid the fact that it has to be revenue neutral? How do you make it revenue neutral looking at these numbers?
Well, I think with dynamic scoring, you want to hope for great growth. We want to hope for 3, 4, you know, who knows how far you can go on growth. I think the point of this is to bring jobs back immediately, put more money in people's pockets so they're spending it in other places. I want to make a simplified tax form for people to fill out, but when people are looking at those rates and you're going from 7 rates to something like 0, 10, 25, 35. People can look at that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then you take the business rate and you go from 35, one of the highest tax countries in the world, and President Trump takes that rate down to 15%. Companies are not going to have to leave our country anymore, and companies are going to make more money, which means people across the country and my neighbors in Kenosha, Wisconsin, are going to put more money in their pocket, which means they're going to be able to provide a better future for their kids. They're going to be able to retire like normal people, like things used to be in this country, and live a life of dignity. And that's what we want. That's what the president wants.
Have you faced a learning curve in this job, and what do you think? How do you describe it?
Yeah, I think everyone learns. I mean, no one really prepares to walk into the West Wing. So certainly there's a learning curve in that, and the decisions are enormous, and the decision-making process involves a lot of different equities of people and opinion that need to get together before things are presented to the president, and that in of itself is a learning curve. But I think that if you look at these 100 days and look at what this president did, President Trump has hit the ball out of the park. The bills that he signed, the foreign policy realignment for this country, the future of where we're heading, and tax reform and infrastructure, he hits it out of the park every day, and the amount of work that President Trump does every day, the pool sprays, one after the next, veterans, education, teacher of the year, just today, tax reform, it doesn't end with this president, and he's the hardest working guy I've ever seen.
Well, you make which trains come in and when. You make the schedule behind the scenes. What has been the biggest challenge?
I think like what I said before. I mean, these things don't happen by accident. You don't get all of these events during the day happening. You don't get all these different groups coming in and out. You don't get the decision-making process happen automatically. It takes a lot of work. It takes a great team, which President Trump has put together, a diverse team.
Is Steve Bannon staying on?
Yeah, Steve's doing a great job. Of course he's staying on. He's doing great, and Jared and I are doing well, and it's a great team, and Kellyanne as well. So the team is there that brought us to victory in November. It starts with President Trump. I remind people all the time, because people like to write about the diversity of personality that we have in the West Wing. It was that diversity of personality that President Trump was able to bring together to unify our party, as diverse as that party is, and it is. But he was able to bring it together. That same team that brought it together in November is the same team right now helping President Trump every day, and it's a winning formula.
A couple quick ones here. There's a report about a NAFTA executive order, that you'll do an executive order to get out of NAFTA or renegotiate that deal. Is that true?
The president's talking about renegotiating NAFTA. I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves on where we're at on that, but it's something the president's been talking about. But here's the thing for everyone. The president's been talking about this since NAFTA actually came into play under President Clinton. So this isn't anyone's idea.
Yeah,
it's
but
the president's
doing
idea.
an executive order rather than through Congress would be different.
Well, I mean, there's different legal hurdles that you have to satisfy before you actually either renegotiate or withdraw from NAFTA. And so those legal hurdles are one thing. Withdrawing actually is another thing. The withdrawal is a different issue. So we're talking about steps prior to withdrawal that have to take place that the president's been talking about.
Okay, filling White House positions. Of the 556 key positions that require Senate confirmation, 468 of them have no nominee as of tonight. 40 are awaiting nomination. It's on pace to be the fewest nominations in 40 years at the end of 100 days. Is that speeding up, and why has this kind of been a slow process?
Yeah, because what you don't see there, Brett, is that there's two different things. There's the decision-making process of who fills the slots, and then there's the clearance process. The clearance process is a process that we can't control. So we have actually hundreds of people in the decision-making process, which is already done. So, for example, you could have all of your undersecretaries at HHS already picked. The president signed off on them. They've been interviewed. They're ready to go. Once you get that person, you have to put them into what's called the Office of Government Ethics, OGE, and the FBI. That clearance process can take anywhere from 30 to 40 days. So go back to where we were with this Democrat Senate. They still haven't confirmed all of our cabinet secretaries. Everyone knows how slow and insane this confirmation process has been. So if you're Rex Tillerson, or you're Tom Price, or you're David Shulkin for the VA, You've just been confirmed a few weeks ago. Now you're picking your people. They've been cleared, and now we're sitting and waiting for OGE before you send someone up to the Senate. So if you look at actual chosen people for slots and you compare them against Bush 43 and against Clinton and against previous presidents, we're not just right on pace. In many cases, we're ahead of that pace.
Reince Priebus, White House Chief of Staff, we appreciate your time tonight.
You bet. Thank you.